where brevity is paramount.
Hello and welcome to episode 2 of Chet and John's Reassuringly Finite Gaming Playlist. My name is Chet Roivas and with me is John Denton.
Hello.
We're a couple of veteran video game journalists. We've written for sort of a whole host of places like
Telegraph, OXM, 360 Magazine, Games TM, loads of stuff.
There you go. How this podcast works is basically every week me and John make separate top 10 lists each of the 10 games we've been playing the most. So it can be absolutely anything, iOS games, console games, absolutely anything. And we go through the top 10 list until we get to the number one. The number ones are the games we've been playing the most. Although it can be anything, because me and John are lucky enough to write about games for a living. Hopefully the top stuff's going to be current and upcoming games, yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, well, yeah, let's go. So start with your number 10. Yeah, go.
Right, so my number 10 this week is Pro Evolution Soccer 2012 or 2012. Only had a few games online. Is it better than FIFA? So many ways it's not better than FIFA. So many obvious ways, like almost all of it. But somehow it's just got that little bit of Pro Evo charm. Finally, they've managed to capture that Pro Evo charm from back in the day. And even though a lot of the games are still completely fucked, it just has that kind of unpredictability and excitement that FIFA lacks. FIFA 12 is really kind of straightforward and predictable. Almost every goal feels the same, whereas Pro Evo, you never really know what's going to happen, and sometimes that's to its detriment. But I've got high hopes for next year's game, providing they're all still employed.
Did they fix that game, that problem that you had?
Worst bug of all time. Yeah, they did fix worst bug of all time, where you couldn't run in a straight line. And I told them about it, and they said that I was lying. Yep, they fixed that one.
I thought you had to be doing something weird, like the second pad was plugged in or something like that.
There was a really weird workaround fix where you could, if you played on second pad, or if you used the D-pad on controller 1, or if you were playing on an older Xbox, not a slim Xbox, it would work. But yeah, for everybody else, you'd run in a straight line, then your player would just start running up the pitch. And then continue in a straight line, which is the worst bug I've ever seen in a commercial game ever.
I always thought you were mistaken about that. I thought your pad was screwed or something like that. I really like Pro Evo, but I just don't think it's better than FIFA. The difference between them is FIFA, luck plays such a big part, so it feels a lot more like a game of football to me. Whereas in Pro Evo, there's luck rarely comes into it. So
I disagree completely.
Really?
I think luck has always played a huge part in Pro Evo and the kind of random stuff that happens, way more than FIFA. And FIFA's been trying to ape that for years. And
it's sometimes to its detriment. I play games of FIFA where honest to God, I feel like the odds are stacked against you at the beginning for absolutely no reason.
But all of that they've taken from Pro Evo. That's what made Pro Evo back in the day. This is frustrating, but it makes it what it is, if that makes sense.
But I like when I play Pro Evo and I score a goal, I'm like, that's just me being a fucking Don. That's not just that's no part of the rest of the game. Whereas FIFA, you sometimes feel like you're being screwed, but that's what football's like.
But Pro Evo has traditionally been the game that people go nuts at. Scripting, they yell scripting, fucking Pro Evo.
I play Pro Evo like multiplayer, but I never really got into it that much to be able to notice it.
It is still the game I've played the most as a series by a long, long way, and will always be. Back in the PS2 and PS1 days, that's all I played basically.
So you've gone from being a convert back to FIFA.
Yeah, I'd like to say I was one of the first people in the review area who started saying that FIFA was better when Pro Evo was, still number one. And then last year, I think they're about even for different reasons. If FIFA sorts itself out, it'll be better again because the production values are just 10 times what Pro Evos are. But FIFA 12 just didn't work for me.
Fair play. I don't agree with. Have you played the Vita version?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Right, what's your number 10?
My number 10 is Inspector Gadget's Mad Dash on the iPhone. Again, I said I realised that I spoke a bit out of turn and I sort of misled people because last week I said that there's a massive difficulty spike in level 2.
Yeah.
And I've been playing it quite a bit over the last week, and now I can't even get past the fucking first level. So there isn't a difficulty spike so much as it's just impossible straight away. So it's just a fucking bastard hard game.
You going to persevere?
I have to say, I don't play iOS games. If I've got 5 seconds, I don't whip out my phone and stick a game on. I either
I don't think anyone sticks a game on if they've got 5 seconds.
Okay, all right. You know, you're on your train and you've got 5 minutes, or like you've got an idle time to do something. I'll either get the 3DS out, or I'll listen to some music or something. Or a book. I don't tend to go for the iOS, but this, I can't really have too much of a go at it because I'm still playing it 6 months down the line, and I will continue to because it's the only thing I'm inspired to play. Which is a little
Can't
bit
argue with that.
Yeah, indeed.
I'm still on iOS here. Little trials game called Extreme Enduro Trials. Basically like a cheap, friendly version of Trials HD. You use the iPhone to tilt, press accelerate and brake, just like Trials HD. Takes place on kind of ropey looking mountains, but the gameplay is basically the same. Really fun, 69p. It's fun. That's it. There's nothing really more to say about it. I've just been wasting a bit of time on it.
Who wants? I mean, Trials HD is so good because it is what it is. It's completely simplified, is it?
Yeah, it doesn't have all the sort of all the tricks and Trials HD is made out of weird wood and all sorts of stuff like that. I'm not doing a very good job of explaining myself. This is like actual trials on mountains, but it's all about getting up really difficult hills and not falling off, which is exactly the same as Trials HD.
Trials
really.
HD. Okay, fair play. Right, my number 9, which I was lucky enough to have quite a few goes on earlier this week, is Street Fighter Cross Tekken.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's... I don't know what to say about it, except that it's looking really slick. I didn't have enough time to get my head around the gem system.
What is the gem system?
You basically, before each match, you pick, I think you're allowed 3. There's a series of like 5 or 6. So some of them are like extra speed, enhanced defences.
Sort of like perks type things.
Kind of, yeah. So, and I don't know whether like online you'll be able to tell what other people have beforehand. I didn't really get enough time to get my head around that, but at the moment it feels like a faster, dafter Street Fighter 4. So it feels like a Street Fighter game. So it's
not all the way into Marvel vs. Capcom.
No,
unplayable madness.
No, it's different, and it's unbelievably fucking garish. I mean, it's the most garish looking game I've ever seen. So bright and so just like you don't feel like you're getting skull fucked the whole time, but it's like it looks. I can't compare it to anything actually. Thinking about it, it's so bright and so like in your face, but appealingly so.
You see yourself getting into it though?
Yeah, big time. I got stuck right in. I don't know whether I'm going to adapt to the. I have to say, I do think Namco have done better out of this deal than Capcom have, because there's never been a bad Street Fighter game, but they ran Tekken into the ground a little while. Although Tekken 6 was pretty good, a bit of a return to form, they fucking ran Tekken into the ground with 4 and 5. So I think people are still not 100%. Whereas Street Fighter, the brand is untarnished.
Yes.
Not so with. I'll be interested to see when the other version comes out, and I want to get into this with all the cross combos and stuff. It's I can't wait. It's looking really really slick.
And when's it out again?
Like imminently, like beginning of March.
Soon, isn't it?
Yeah.
Awesome. Right, so to my number 8, talked about it last week, Hero Academy on the iOS.
Oh yeah.
When are you going to get it? I know you don't play iOS games, but this is so far up your street.
I'll tell you what, I'm gonna train journey later on, so I'll get it on before I go on the train. Done.
I need someone to help me work out exactly what's going on, because it seems like a simple game, but when you play it against randoms, they just smash you up. And there's never really enough time to learn it properly. So, yeah, it's just like a simple Advance Wars, but with, instead of tanks, you've got little wizards and ninjas and things like that.
Is there no single-player game, then?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
No, it just seems to be playing against randoms.
So you've got to figure it out while you're playing online?
I think the idea is that you pick it up at the same time as someone else you know, and you figure it out together.
Oh, okay.
It'll take one game, I think, but while I'm trying to figure it out, I'm just losing. And that's obviously frustrating.
All right.
But I can tell it's good, and I want to play it properly.
Cool. Okay. Well, I'm gonna have a look into that later today, then, boy.
Nice.
Okay. My number 8 is The Darkness 2. Although I finished the campaign and I will go back to it at some point. I'm playing I just finished off the co-op missions.
Oh yeah.
Which are really good. Although I used the term spectacularly racist earlier this week, and I don't know whether that was unfair. But one of the characters you play as is just. I mean, I thought it was hilarious non-stop. But it's like a ridiculous stereotype.
What of?
His name's Jimmy, of course. He's a big ginger Scottish guy in a rugby shirt. He thinks everybody's English, so everyone's a cunt, and he's always pissed off at them. He's always drunk. It's absolutely hilarious, especially the banter that he has with the mafioso guy who's giving you your missions. I was
Does he
laughing.
appear in the main game, or is it just in the co-op?
No, just a random. I mean, it feels like they've kept. It's so off. He's a very off the wall character, especially in a game like The Darkness 2. But hilarious. There's some really, really actually legitimately great jokes in it. But if I was a Scottish person, I don't know if I'd be pissed off or not.
Do you think they care?
Probably not. In a game like that, I'm probably thinking too much into it. But and he also nicked a word of mine. He goes
What's
around skunt.
What a lovely word to steal.
Scum plus cunt equals skunt. He stole it, but I'll let it slide because that part of the game's actually loads better than it should be.
Awesome. Skunt.
Yeah.
All right, number 7 is The Elder Scrolls Skyrim. And all I can say, all I've written down in my notes is it's happening again. That's all I've written. I've been put off going back to this game since probably just before Christmas because it's so daunting. And I think I've put about 40, 45 hours into it and I've not touched it. I've not touched the game, really. And I just put it on and I was like, oh dear, this is happening again then. And there's going to be another 100 hours, I'd say. Easy.
Everyone I know who's played it either got to the end and left it, or they just. I take it you're not trying to finish the actual game itself.
No, I've got so much other stuff on my quest list. I've done a little bit of the main story, but barely any, just to advance it enough so I've got context for what else I'm doing. But everywhere you turn, everyone you talk to, there's something interesting. They've done such a good job compared to their other games, compared to even Oblivion and even Fallout. Just everything just sounds so interesting that even stuff like go and fetch me this, you'll go there and then the whole quest will change halfway through and all sorts of weird stuff will happen, and you can kind of tell your mates stories and they won't have seen any of it. I mean, some of the stuff my kid brother was telling me about some huge dwarf underground city he found randomly. It was nothing to do with any quests that I didn't even know existed. And he said it's like the size of most games. Ridiculous achievement.
Do you think you'll keep playing it until you've finished it so you can say sort of goodbye to it?
I'll probably do what I did on Fallout 3, which is I'll get to a point where I'll just naturally feel like I want to get through the story. When that'll happen, I don't know. And then I'll bash through the story and I probably won't go back. I'm not the type of person that needs to hoover up every single quest or see every single inch of the map on games like this. I don't have time. So that will happen eventually, but it doesn't feel like it's coming anytime soon.
Well, okay. My number 7 is UFC Undisputed 3.
Nice.
It's I don't have a lot to say about it except that it's definitely the best one. Little things like the last two, I remember finding it almost impossible to get out of a clinch.
Yeah.
Whereas now that feels like that's something I can do, and being able to sway on the ground.
Yeah,
because
big improvement.
When I was on the full mount, I'm just like, oh, game over. I used to just put the pad down because there was nothing I could do to get out of it. When people are really good at sort of stopping you from being able to get away from it, it's basically impossible.
Yeah, they've done a good job in sorting that out, especially offline. But I've been playing online, so it's later on my list, so we'll talk about it now. When it works, it's brilliant. I mean, truly brilliant. I've had some fantastic matches, but unfortunately, for whatever reason, the ground and pound, especially from side control, is just so devastating that every fucker is doing it. So they'll try and take you down, get to side, and then just plant 3 elbows in your face and you're rocked straight away. And trying to get out is so difficult. You have to time it flawlessly with a block and then a transition. And with a tiny bit of input lag online, I mean, you're fucked basically. So the only way to win, I won a couple of games by doing it myself, and I was just like, I don't want to play like this. This is just filth. And ended up just turning it off in a temper. So I'm selling this is shit, and then going back 5 minutes later and trying again. When you play a decent sort who doesn't want to do that, had some truly brilliant matches, like 5-round epics, people getting knocked down, getting back up, submission attempts, brilliant. But unfortunately, online players are scunts, to use your vernacular, and most of them don't want to play like that. So again, I need someone to play offline or standard one-on-ones who's my level, so I can have some real epic games. But no one around my way wants to play.
They don't normally. UFC is a game that's not renowned for being patched, is it? So, like, if there's an exploit like that, I don't think that'll get fixed, will it?
It took them a long time to patch the first one, a long time, and that had a huge problem where if someone quit, they didn't get anything negative against them.
I remember
so people
that.
would just quit.
Yeah.
And then 2010 was so laggy in the first week, I just didn't even bother because I think EA MMA was coming out and there were other games around. But this one, they've sorted out the lag finally, pretty much. It's decent.
Is Undisputed, is it better than EA MMA?
No.
Okay.
It can be, and the ground game's better, but that game has something magic in it. I've not been able to quite work out what it is. Because even though it's more limited than UFC and there's less options, there's less moves, there's less grappling options, some of the games I've had on that are the best multiplayer matches I've had on anything ever. And then that is a game, and this is so rare, that I don't care if I lose. Even if I lose, I'm happy. Because I love the sport so much, and it just feels like I'm part of the sport when I play it.
Did you play much of Pride mode?
I've played a fair bit of Pride mode on UFC. It's good. The commentary's much better because you got Baz.
That's ruined, yeah. But I don't understand. I don't know whether the sport was more like this, but I will always play Pride rather than the UFC, just because there seems to be more of a stand-up. Most of the matches just tend to culminate in knockouts rather than anything on the ground. I don't know whether that happened more in the sport.
Not really. It just, I think in the game, the ring's just bigger, so you get stuck against the fence less when people are shooting for takedowns. And also, a lot of the fighters in Pride mode are strikers. Quentin Jackson, Shogun, even Dan Henderson, people like that. So when people pick them, they're more inclined to stand and bang rather than picking GSP or Chael Sonnen or something like that. In the UFC, you're more inclined to shoot for a takedown. Maybe it's that, but I have noticed that as well when I played Pride. And I like kicking people in the face when I'm on the ground.
That's too brutal. I always turn away when someone does that. I think it's that.
Well, even in a game.
Yeah, I'm just like, it's too, fucking booting someone in the head when they're down.
Yeah, there's definitely a good reason why that's not allowed anymore.
Yeah. Okay, what was that?
Oh yeah, it's me, isn't it?
Yeah.
My number 6 is Vanquish. I finished it.
Nice.
It's taken me a long time. I promised it. I promised you that I would, and I did. Wow, it's just so good. So good. I didn't know what the hell was going on in the story. I don't care.
Yeah.
It just kind of sucks you into this almost flow, and you're flowing through the game, and it's kind of coming at you, and you get into this space where you almost become one with Sam. And like all the best sort of fast-paced action games make you feel like this, I think, but never as a shooter made me feel like I'm completely at one with him, and I'm almost seeing everything in slow motion, even without activating the slow motion.
Yeah.
And by the time the last boss fight came along, it was super hard. I think I did it on my second go, even though it was that hard, just because I was that in tune with the game. And it was just such a good boss fight. And yeah, the whole last 2 hours of the game, just off the chain good. I really hope people go out. It's probably about 30p in CEX now.
Yeah.
I hope people go out and play that game, because that is the best third-person shooter this generation. And that's coming from a meat-headed Gears fanboy for life. So that's saying something from me. Wow. I'm looking forward to just putting it on hard, or maybe even God hard. I might even try that, and going through again in a little bit when I've had a little break, a little breather.
It's worth it. It's worth it. I mean, it's my favourite game of all time because I've never felt so in control of a character before, ever.
Yeah.
And whereas before, as far as, I don't know whether this is totally accurate, but before I played that, whenever you play a game that went into slow-mo and there was sort of bullets whizzing past you, it was just an effect. Whereas in Vanquish, if there's a bullet coming towards you, you've got to get out of the way of it. So yes. It is genuinely bullet time, and Max Payne 3 looks like it's going to do that as well. But yeah, that's a game that any fault that I have with it is totally minor.
I just pray, so many people I've spoken to about it, they just assume that it's just another by-the-numbers shooter because of the cover, and even if they play the demo briefly, it takes about half the game, I'd say, to really get the hang of what to do. Because when I was first playing it, I was like, am I playing this right? It feels like I should be better. It feels like I should be moving better. But it just comes through playing it. Yeah. Then you get into your own way of controlling him, and how much you're going to use cover, not really very much, sliding around, using the bullet time. I just implore people to play it. You've got to play Vanquish. Yeah, genuine. That's wise fucking words, boy. Okay, what number was that? That was my number 6. Okay, my number 6. I'm not going to talk about this very long because it's just a realisation that I've had. Like a lot of people, I've got a shelf of games that I put stuff on because I either want to finish later or return to. And I'm trying to go through that at the moment. So I've picked the bottom of the rung, that like the one that I need to just get shot of, and that's Aliens vs Predator. I really like it, but I still think it's. I'm a sucker for that world, and I'm a sucker for just All right.
I think it's functional and it's not amazing, but I just like it. Some of the multiplayer modes are really really entertaining.
Are you going to try and get a Rebellion game in every single week?
No.
If so, we might as well just quit now.
Do you actually really hate it that much?
I don't hate it as much as some of their other games, but yeah, I just thought it was crap.
I
remember the old PC one, really liking that back in the day.
And they did that as well?
Yes.
Yeah, don't be a hater.
Yeah, when they were really good.
All right. No, okay, right. Aliens, the Marine campaign, fine, functional, I enjoyed it. The Predator campaign is really good because it...
No, it's shit. It's just going through a corridor of trees.
That's right, but you have to utilise all of those powers that he has. I thought that was like a really... If I wanted a Predator video game, I thought that they did that almost perfectly. And there's a bit of towards the end where you're just chucked in a massive space, and there's Marines there and there's aliens there, and you have to take them all out. And on hard mode,
Marines and aliens.
What did I say? Marines and aliens. Yeah, that's what I said.
No way.
Yeah. Well, in the same space, so you have to if you get spotted by one lot, then you have to multitask. Basically, it's good. I don't know why you're dissing it, but anyway, the thing I realised is that Jesus Christ Almighty, the fucking Aliens campaign is Wang Chung.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is shithouse. I used to think, okay, I mean, it's a little bit stealthy, it's a little bit, the controls, they've gone for something a little bit wonky, but it kind of works. But going back to it, I'm just like, and pressing switches, yakking out your little man out of your mouth and using it to press switches. I mean, that's they must have done that last and rushed it because it is pure flange.
Yeah. I've got none. Few don't have much nice things to say about Alien versus Predator.
Okay, I think I like 2/3 of the package. The last bit is I've just realised it's absolute horse manure.
Good stuff. Number 5 for me, Ghost Trick again.
Oh yeah.
It's not called Ghost Trick again. It's called Ghost Trick. It's so well structured with the chapter structure, with the episodic structure, that you can play it for about 20 minutes at a time, put it down, and then when you go back to it, it'll kind of fill you in on the story. So you never lose that, which is good. So many games I think are so arrogant that they think that you can, their story's so good that you can put it down for 6 months and they don't need to remind you what happened.
Yeah.
So many times that happens, and then you play the second half of the game and a bunch of cutscenes happen. I mean, most game stories are crap, but I still like to know what's going on. I like to have context for what I'm doing most of the time. I don't know. It's just the way my brain works. Ghost Trick just always lets you know what's going on. Still really clever. I'm still really intrigued by trying to unravel the mystery of this guy's death, even though he looks like Jedward with sunglasses. And yeah, it's just perfect to play for 20-30 minutes at a time. Please go and get the free first hour and a half on iOS, see if you like it.
Yeah.
You can't argue with that, and even if after 10 minutes you hate it, you've lost nothing.
All right.
So yeah, Ghost Trick all day.
All right, okay, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that alongside the other one, which I've already forgotten the title of.
I
will.
Next week.
What was the other one called?
Hero Academy.
Okay, all right, don't you worry.
Such an easy name.
Don't you worry about it. I'll remember that. It's done. Okay, my number 5 is Choplifter HD.
Choppy Lift.
Choppy HD, yeah. I can't remember what format I played it on when I was a kid, but it's a game that I was obsessed with when I was little, so I was really, really pumped.
Was it in the arcade?
No, I had it on either an old school Game Boy or one of those old Mac computers. It was it was a primitive game at the time, and I was really young, so God knows, but I played it a shitload, so I was really looking forward to this. And it's A+ for effort, but it just they kind of sort of screw themselves sort of halfway down the line. They've made it a little bit too complicated. I mean, rather than in the first game, you go here, you pick up the guys, you shoot a couple of people, you take them back to the base at the end. Here you have to, there are some levels where you have to preserve fuel, you have to kill a certain number of zombies. There's all these different things. The only problem is that with all those, they gradually start to blend those things together. So you're doing a lot, and it's pretty cool. But because there's no save points, they start to last upwards of 15 minutes. Right. And when you die on minute 14 for the second time, you're just like, fuck you, I can't be asked to play this. And the controls are not fast enough that when it gets really difficult, everyone's got heat-seeking rocket launchers, and in the instructions it says evade them, use the speed boost, but you're never fast enough to evade them, really. I mean, you can, but it's nowhere near as slick as it should be. The controls are a little bit iffy, and they use the sort of different perspectives, which is just too much. I think they sort of tried to do too much. It's good, but it should have been fucking great.
I'm not into it. Not my cuppa.
Have you tried it?
No.
Oh, how can you say that then, boy? You should try the trial.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that though, am I?
Oh, well, I mean, I'm not going to do...
I'll try to trial and Inspector Gadget if you do Ghost Trick and Hero Academy.
All right, no, I told you I'm
So
going to do
yeah,
that.
neither of us have to worry there.
All right, well, Choplifter HD. Done.
Number 4, game that a lot of people have been talking about in the last week on iOS called Beat Sneak Bandit. I made sure to enunciate that properly. Really cool game. It's hard to explain. It's this kind of stealth platformer on a flat plane where you can only move your little cool kind of almost pop arty type character. That's probably not right. Someone will thank me for saying that. In time to music, and everything in the world also moves in time to music. So basically, you jab the screen to move the guy, and he can move like one space at a time. And you've got to go through these flat worlds. They're divided into 4 from top to bottom, 4 levels of like a house. You go upstairs, fall down holes. You have to collect the clocks and then collect the final clock to beat the level. And there'll be little like searchlights that come on in time to the music. There'll be little guards that move around in time to the music. It's just a really clever game. It really feels like people are really starting to understand how to get the most out of iOS and make games that are really suitable for the platform, that don't just feel completely throwaway and 5 minutes time wasted. It feel like a proper game. It's only a couple of quid, but it feels perfectly suited to the format. It's been getting 9s and 5 stars in a lot of places. I've not played it quite enough to work out whether I'd score it that much, but I definitely really like it. My only problem with it is the music. It sounds like, the beginning of Modern Family that I just can't handle.
Oh,
that
God,
horrible noise.
Yeah.
That's what the music sounds like. Just like clarinets and fucking
Is it a Japanese game?
drums. No, it's European. I can't remember what country they're from. It kind of feels Japanese in a way. It's really cool. It's a shame there's not a free trial of it to check it out. But Beat Sneak Bandit. If only the music didn't make me want to smash up everything in the universe. But still really cool.
Sounds all right. I'm going to actually have a look at that. Well, it's £2, you say?
£2, yeah. Check a YouTube video of it first.
Right.
Go on, check out Hookshot. I think they did a review of it. That's what inspired me to go and pick it up.
Cool. Okay. All right. Maybe I'll do that. All right. What was that? Okay. My number 4. Another game that I've taken from the part of my shelf where I'm supposed to go back to stuff. A game that I've realised is a masterpiece, and I can't believe I didn't realise it sooner. Donkey Kong Country Returns.
Donkey Kong.
You weren't a fan, were you?
I liked it, but it just started to bore me a little bit.
How?
3 hours in.
How?
I don't know. Maybe I was just in the wrong place mentally to play it. I think I built it up in my mind that it was going to be so much better than it was, and as I was playing, it just felt like a bit of a procession.
A procession of absolutely superb ideas that keep changing.
I didn't give it enough time, so I'm not going to say the game is bad because it's me. I chose to give up on it quite soon. Maybe if I did go back to it, I would realise the error of my ways. But it just didn't grab me. But I think I built it up too much in my own mind because I love retro studios as well.
Yeah.
Metroid Prime games is just ridiculous.
Yeah. It's the thing that I just the real pleasure of it was that I've just had to get used to the fact that it's so, because we're so aware of how games are crafted. I get so frustrated about games that it makes me fucking angry. I've had to just get used to that, and so have my neighbours, incidentally. But playing this it's fucking difficult. After the opening 45 minutes, it's relentlessly tough. And every single time I died in the space that I was playing it, and that's I'd say pushing 50 times I must have died. Every time my reaction was exactly the same. My head fell down and I slapped my forehead with the palm of my hand because I'm like, I'm the idiot. The controls are perfect. I knew what I had to do. I didn't measure.
Watch you do that 50 times in a row.
My girlfriend thought it was hilarious, but honestly, it was just I'm shit, not the game, and I'm so fed up of feeling something other than that when I'm playing a platformer, especially. But honestly, masterpiece, AAA, up there with the best games on the Wii. It's a killer app as far as I'm concerned.
That makes me want to try it again.
I'll lend it to you if you ain't got it.
I don't have it anymore, no.
All right, I'll chuck it your way. Don't you worry about
that. All right, cool. All right, number 3. Talking of games that I wanted to go back to and hoping that they were masterpieces. Child of Eden.
Not as good as Res, but great.
Fuck no, it's not as good as Res. Res is one of my all-time favourite games. If I was to list my 3 all-time favourite games off the top of my head, Halo, Res, Pro Evo Series. Okay, so you know.
Pro Evo Series is more than one game. If you had to pick one Pro Evo.
Pro Evo 5.
Okay.
Um, Child of Eden is not res. It's very, very similar. I decided to play it with a pad this time. I reviewed it using Kinect, and I was very impressed with how well it used Kinect. But I thought I'll do this properly. I'll get my nice headphones on, get the pad on with the vibration, turn the lights off, do it like I used to play res all the time. And at first I was going, yeah, this is pretty good. The music's not as good. It's his own band. It's Misaguchi's own band, Genki Rockets. It's a bit too fluffy for me. I like the kind of dark electro from Res. But it's fine. It's good. It's good. And the graphics are obviously unbelievably good. But after the third, don't know what they call them. I'm going to call it level. It's just got too fucking hard, and it's a design fault that makes it hard because you have to use a separate button to take down the stuff that's coming at you to hurt you, which you don't in Res, and it fires intermittently, not instantly, so you can easily miss stuff that's coming at you. And after a while, it gets so messy you can't see what's aggressive and what's just something to shoot down, and you're getting killed by stuff that you don't know that's there. And
That happened in Res.
Res.
Sometimes that happened in Res though. When
It
things
did,
got...
but at least in Res, if something was close, you could quickly jam the button to fire at it, or if you'd managed to hook it in on your lock-ons, you could let go and it would kill it. This is much harder than Res ever was, and annoyingly so. And when you get right to the end of one of its levels and you have to kick back all the way to the beginning to do all the boring shit for 5 minutes at the beginning, I don't want to slate it. It's still really good, and I want to finish it just to see how the creativity on show is just amazing. The guy's a visionary as far as I'm concerned, but I don't know. It just seems like they tried to overcomplicate it and they didn't need to. They had Res 2 and then they added a bunch of shit to it that they didn't need to, and it's just frustrating because I kind of made peace with the fact I was never going to get Res 2 for a long time, and you got Res HD, and I was like, okay, that's fine, I can get on with my life. And then it came out in that E3, and there's Res 2 basically, and it's just not the game it should have been.
I absolutely love it, and the Kinect control is that's like the best thing that Kinect has ever done.
Oh, I
was
agree.
Playing it with that
Definitely
game.
that.
I thought it was more Res, but I do agree that the fucking music is shithouse, and part of the appeal of Res was some of that, the progressively sort of darker music was like all part of the experience. I love that, but I still think it's good. It's on my shelf. I'm going to go back to it, but I never played it with a pad because it was clearly built for Kinect.
Yes, I still think it's good. It's just it's a letdown because I want it to be so much better than it is, and I think it could be had they not included that second fire button to take down the pink stuff that's coming to attack you.
That works.
It's just been all on.
That works
It
with
doesn't
Kinect
on the
though.
later levels. It doesn't on the later levels.
I'd say, did I find that? I can't remember finding that. I thought it would just work the whole way through, but I didn't do it on difficult or anything.
It starts to really stitch you up. About halfway through the fourth level, you're just like, fuck you, Misaguchi. I'll take that back. I don't mean it. I love it.
Okay, where are we? Number 3. Okay, my number 3 is Spec Ops: The Line. I played through the...
Seen all the new stuff this week.
Yeah. I mean, I played through, I think, probably around about the first hour, and when we were presented it, whenever you're presented a game, you're given all these grand claims. Oh, it's doing this, it's doing that, it's going to do this, it's going to do that, and often 9 times out of 10, that's just it's bollocks.
And it turns out to be never dead.
Don't just never did. But I tell you what, this is really, I'm really, 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 really interested in this now. Having done the first hour, although I didn't get to see the most important aspect of it is when things start to go a little bit wonky.
Talk me through it. What is it?
It's a third-person shooter set in Dubai after this sort of natural disaster sandstorm. Just completely, the city is completely uninhabitable, and you're this crack team that go in to try and sort of find any hostages and stuff, find teams that have gone missing. I mean, it sounds fairly generic, but the sort of the attitude towards moral choices is really. It's playing through it, I'm just like, I need to really sit down with this and enjoy it. The only thing I will say though is if you're interested in this game, avoid coverage completely, because there's going to be fucking spoilers, and this is one of those games that spoilers could completely ruin it for you. I also hope that they're really savvy about what they do with the trophies and achievements, because it's one of those games like this. Traditionally, if there's a choice and something happens differently, a lot of people are going to want to play it again to do it in a different way. When I was playing this, I was like, I really want this all to culminate in an ending, like with Heavy Rain. It's the first time an action game's been. I've wanted to play it the way that I played Heavy Rain and sort of just leave it as that was my experience. it's I don't want to say too much about it because it's awesome, but the moral choices you're presented with they're not like, here's this happening. Something will happen, a piece of action will happen, and one of them, two of your team are like trying to get you to do different things, and if you don't react quickly enough, there's a different set of repercussions. Okay, so you're really under pressure the whole time, and it's tense, and I'm really looking forward to it. Towards the end of the demo, I got to a point where things started to go a bit ski with, because it's about how your character everything starts to pile up, and he starts to go a little bit mad. And one of the writers cited Jacob's Ladder and the David Cronenberg Spider as influences. I'm just like, I can't fucking wait until it starts to go a bit mental in the end. And having seen a few shots of it, like when you can tell that he's essentially going mad, I can't wait. But
Jacob's Ladder.
Well, yeah, what
movie.
underrated
Silent
film?
Hill.
Yeah. But yeah, apart from that, the only weird thing I'll say about it is they've taken the font and the interface of Gears exactly,
Right.
which seems like a weird thing considering.
I don't like it. You shouldn't take the font interface you can handle, but
yeah, I thought it was a weird.
Be careful with fonts.
Yeah, it's a weird choice. It looks like Gears but in a different skin, which I don't think was going to help them. But it fucking deeply promising that.
Very interesting. I like anything that tries to do something a little bit different or progressive, or ambition is something that I admire.
Who doesn't, son?
Yeah. Why did I say that? Complete idiot. Right. My number 2 is we talked about it already at length. Is UFC Undisputed 3. Like I said before, the online's too ground and pound heavy. Posturing up in someone's guard and punching them twice. I know what that feels like. It doesn't knock you out. So don't fix it. I just said don't fix it. Do fix it. Do fix it, THQ. Sort it out, because when it works, it's beautiful. Thank you.
Okay, I'll pass that on. My number 2 is what I said will be number 1 for all eternity, and it's not. It's Battlefield 3. Not a lot to say apart from I'm starting to wonder. I'm going to have to investigate, because I want to know how DICE decide how they make decisions on when they do the fixes. Because from what I can see, from what I've garnered from other people and other sources, whoever shouts the loudest on their forums get what they want. So there's people who use air vehicles loads, and there's people who don't use air vehicles loads. The air vehicles are overpowered as far as I'm concerned. They're saying they're not. So now the only options we have for like taking down a chopper is now being nerfed, which I think is ridiculous. So I want to try and find out how they do that. It seems like just make enough noise and DICE will change it for you. Did
you see that video of the guy jumping out of his plane, shooting the guy, and then diving into his plane?
Yeah, that was awesome. Pretty special. Yeah.
So just more batters. You're playing batters. That's what you do.
I'll always play batters. Batters till I die, boy.
Number 1 for me, Asura or Asura's Wrath.
Wrath.
Played it all weekend. First thing I'm going to say before I forget it: if you play this game, and you should play this game, please change it to the Japanese dub. The lips aren't actually synced to the Japanese dub for whatever reason I can't understand, but it's so much better. You know how annoying bad voiceovers can be in games. I'd always rather have Japanese dub in a Japanese game, just like I'd rather have Japanese dub in a Japanese film, obviously. Just makes the game so much less annoying. So do that, please. Right, Asura's Wrath. It's barely a game. It's so weird. First off, I didn't like the demo at all. I thought it was just Dragon Ball's Lair, which someone on Eurogamer comments stole. I put that on Twitter first. Thank you very much. Basically, it's just QTEs, a bit of on-rail shooting. I was like, this is just shit. The stuff happening in the background was awesome. This is just shit. Wasn't massively looking forward to the review that I had to write. About an hour in, I was like, oh, God. I was staring down a 3. Seriously, I was like, this isn't a game. And then something happened. Well, first thing is I switched it to Japanese dub. Don't know why I decided to look in the options. Just thought I would. Just to give myself a little bit of peace from not having to hear those English voices. And then I just started to it started to creep up on me a little bit, and I started to think, actually, this is pretty funny, and I'm starting to enjoy it. And after about 2 hours, it's like, this is just great. And I kept waiting for it to fall down, and I kept waiting for me to go, no, this is shit. And I was kind of toying with the score in my head the whole time, but one sentence kept ringing out the whole time I was playing it, and I was like, you've got to play Asura's Wrath. You've just got to play this game. It's the most creative game I've played since Shadows of the Damned, which is just an awesome game itself. It's just kind of QTEs mixed with on-rail shooter, and the on-rail shooter is very, very similar to Res, with the 8-hit lock-on. It's very, very similar to Res.
Wow.
And then you've got a kind of basic but really nicely done brawler in there. It's not got the depth of Bayonetta or anything like that, but it's really quick, really responsive. And the whole game is about basically building up your rage bar. You have a bar underneath your health bar. The more times you attack people, it builds up and builds up and builds up and builds up until you're so angry you hit the right trigger, and then the most crazy shit you've ever seen happens. You could be punching through a planet, you can be kicking a hole in a fish that's the size of fucking Alaska. Like, you've never seen anything like it, really. The whole game is designed purely around the idea that this guy is that angry, and it all ties back into that really, really cleverly. And some of the scenes are just, I don't want to spoil too many of them, but there's one I wrote about in the review. You're in a pool opposite another god, drinking sake with maidens while the Hovis music plays in the background. And at that point, I was like, yeah, I think I like this game.
I already know too much. When I got conflicting reports the day the demo came out. I don't normally download demos anyway, but I was kind of tempted with that. And having
I was one of the ones slating it. I remember doing it.
I think that's right. And another mate was like, "You've got to play it. It's amazing." So I'm going to sit back, try and hear nothing, and then go in for the full game when it comes out.
Yes, I won't spoil any more. All I'll say is that some people have said, "Is it worth 40 quid? Is it not?" Listen, one man's 40 quid isn't another man's 40 quid. First of all, so I don't think a reviewer can start talking too much about price. Unless the game is obviously not worth any money. And second of all, games don't stay 40 quid forever, but reviews and opinion and conversation does. So I'm not saying pick up Asura's Wrath the day it comes out and spend all your money on it. I'm just saying play Asura's Wrath. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm chatting.
All right, that's it. I'm looking forward to that. I'm pumped. Okay, my number one is Syndicate, which is a game that I like a hell of a lot. I genuinely like it a hell of a lot, but I can't remember a game that I've liked this much that has also frustrated me this much. But it's a mild frustration. It's something that it can exist. As angry as I got about it, it's something that's not important, and that's the story and the world. I think the story is not its fault, because every big budget shooter has to feel that it has to have a story. But it doesn't make any sense. It's set a benchmark, as far as I'm concerned, for narrative incoherence. Doesn't make any sense at all. First off, the world's completely empty. It might as well... There's a few civilians sort of lying around, and if you go up to them, the only option you can't talk to them. All you can do is kick their head off, like crush their skull under your boot. That's all you can do. And the story you start off, and there's a really succinct little cutscene at the beginning explaining what the world is, and you're like, okay, this is good. And then it throws you into a plot that at times I thought, I'm just too engaged by the shooting to know what's going on here. But they should have called the game Your Ever-Changing Relationship with Rosario Dawson. That should be the title of the game. That as far as, because basically you start off, she's your friend, she's your colleague. Then, from what I could tell, she went missing, and then you went to try and find her, and then she was in cahoots with a boss, and she tried to kill you, and then you were friends again, and then you went after someone. It just made no sense at all. At one point, I walked into a room on my way to the next gunfight, and there was these two characters in there who had made a makeshift altar, and they were watching a TV that had some kind of like propaganda video, like Big Brother. He's never seen again. That's never explained. I can't ask the guys why they're doing what they're doing, because the only option it gives me is to fucking kick their heads off.
Did you kick their heads off?
I don't think I did. I mean, it's quite nasty, but the nastiness kind of sort of harks back to the original, which was quite nice. The sort of just the uneasy sort of violence of it, which was quite cool. But it doesn't make any sense. And then at one point I walked into this other room and I had a gunfight. Two guys left, headshotted the one guy, and then I meleeed the final guy, and an achievement popped up on the screen. I was like, okay, fair play. So I checked what it was, and it said, you successfully, in a short period of time, killed two members of two different warring factions. Fucking what? Two warring factions? So like, I walked into a room like fucking Mr. Bean, and then these two people just started having a battle with each other. It didn't make... honestly, it made zero sense. But as much as that... and incidentally, the final line of dialogue is hilarious. It just might as well be, if this is successful, there'll be a sequel. It literally might as well just have been that.
I've got it, so I'm going to check it out. I'm
okay.
going to play it.
It is, the shooting is excellent. It constantly mixes things up as it should. If there was no plot and you just like level 1, level 2, you're in. Excellent. I mean, I can't, as a shooter, I think it's deeply underrated. It's really fun, and they've treated it seriously. And if they'd, having said that, if they'd have just made it a co-op multiplayer game, solely a co-op multiplayer game, they could have had one of the games of the year on their hands, I reckon.
Really?
The multiplayer it's 4-player co-op. But do you remember Onslaught mode from Bad Company 2?
Oh yeah,
It's like that. It's as close to getting the sort of strategic sort of excitement of a game of Battlefield against real people against AI while you're going through this sort of threadbare plot. But me and 3 friends played it the other night, and I'll tell you what, it was fucking brilliant. Just brilliant.
You need like-minded people to play it, don't you? That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah,
you try to play it with randoms, it wouldn't work.
Absurdly difficult. Anything less than 3 or 4 people, you're dreaming, mate. It's right. so difficult. And just incidentally, the world is so derivative. Fifth Element, Blade Runner, Half-Life, and Body Count, which is weird because there's a lot of fluorescent turquoise, which is like, this is reminding me of Body Count. I don't like it, but yeah. But fucking great game. I mean, really, just a great little game.
I'm going to play it. I'll probably play it this weekend. I shall report back in next week's podcast.
Yeah, well, enjoy the story. It's gripping.
Yes. Sounds great.
Yeah.
All right, that's it for another Chet and John's reassuringly finite gaming playlist for the week. Thank you very much for listening. We'll be back next week with our signature dueling playlists. So thanks for listening, and it's goodbye from me, John Denton.
And goodbye from me, Ronnie Corbett.
Peace out. We don't see
Laters.
Shove some tungsten up this tunnel's ass!
Roger that.